This will actually situate our challenges of housing, land, and basic service in Nepal, because it's not like Japanese case. But this firstly, let me situate the country. Let me situate Nepal with 30 million peoples and rapid urbanization causing increasing demand for housing, with 40% peri-urban areas, which is actually urbanizing areas, and day by day making housing demands on that area. So we see that we see the stronger local governments. However, the experience of increasing risk of climate-induced disasters are there. Also, internal migration resulting urban sprawl and stress to infrastructure is the basic cases all the way. Two basic commitments. First is urban system, in which we think that people, goods, and services exchange in a certain spatial area. And second one, with inclusion, resilient, and prosperity as one of the major areas to think of. The second commitment is localizing and achieving SDG, which is a real problem, because the municipal commitments are to be really explored. So this is just to situate a Nepalese case. So two three rights by constitution is actually, we have a constitutional guarantee on right to property, housing, and right for women. And what that mean is we have a policy and acts related to that. And this housing policy, housing rights made, I mean, that's a constitutional guarantee that every person has the housing rights on that. So if you see, you can see a National Housing Act on that, the Real Housing Act, the Right to Housing Act 2018, which is constitutional kind of thing. There are various policies: was land and urban policy, and Act on land, Act on housing, and was regulations out of this. So this shows that the consideration of people first, and then housing and property. So all are guaranteed by the constitution. If you see the housing gap till 2024, we think we had a 15th plan in place, but that says 2 million houses to be constructed. I mean, but out of that, 400,000 houses are required to poor and endangered and marginalized communities, out of which we just made 17,000 units constructed for vulnerable groups till 1819, and now this becomes around 23,000 housing units. And we also try to improve their housing condition for 7,000 peoples, and which is a low in number, as the number is actually a lot. But and one quarter, around 25%, 23% have their ownership on land and housing in the name of female householder, because well, once you have a female household in land ownership, that means you have something, you see some particularly empowerment and inclusion in land rights and property all the way. However, 2.2 million people's houses are non-engineered. That means that's still vulnerable houses. In 2015 and 2013, we really had a bigger earthquake, and it poses a kind of critical humanitarian crisis in these conditions too, because of these vulnerable houses. And true for non-concrete houses, but also it's a true for RCC buildings, because they are not assessed well, and that's not engineered kind of inputs. The critical issues seen in rental housing all the way. The number of people is growing by 22% in nation, and in which the municipalities by 46%, and which is very alarming, because it tells that housing becomes a commodity for business peoples. And 18% of the population in sub-metropolitan cities are renters. That means that's a lot. I mean, around one fifth people are renter, means housing demands or housing condition improvement is a critical issue. So landlessness is a we see 1.34 million households are landless, or that near landless. That means they are becoming a landless all the way, and it's a threat in threat in population, threat in community always. These six and trades and substitute farmers even. So informal seems that some of the municipality are IC and technical supports and households. Regarding basic services, we see that 57% have access to piped water, but out of that, only 16% have access to real safe water. We declared ODF, but still 5% households lack toilet facilities and 39% with safe sanitation services. For post-earthquake reconstruction, we built around 1 million houses, which is around 2% of overall housing, which is a global model for drone owner-driven reconstruction. And we feel that this is a more successful method on us, and which made, all kind of resiliency theories, all kind of building code theories and safeties on all. So 1 million houses means around 2%, because we feel that we have 5.4 million houses in total. And we have enough legal frameworks and policies. And ODF was declared in 2019, which is first in South Asia. And the South WAS policy ensures inclusive access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. And we are doing we are actually encouraging the local governments to really work on it. So land tenure things, we really land policy and land act recognize the informal things for the first time, which is to promote a pro poor approach, and which is implemented in almost all municipalities. Just 30 municipalities are remaining. And with social tenure data, we see around 1 million households are collected, out of which 4,500 land key achievements are there. So so we see around some of the strategic actions out of it. The first one is we embark for net zero by 2045, which however is the problem of inclusion and resiliencies are core to link urban development with economic prosperity. That means, a lot of spatial or territorial transition, as our colleague said in that. That's also important. But we see that the data or evidence based decision making is strategic support we might need. That means that we have to strengthen our province governments and local governments to strengthen the data driven approach for housing policies. Otherwise, the policies are very fragile, and so we have to make on that. Second one is, we say it's a affordable housing, but we have a housing, but access to affordable kind of thing with decent qualities is a need. With to develop a social, cooperative, community, and rental housing models, but quality enhancing and decent housing is still a key. The third one is more like sustainable housing finance. We have to strengthen the housing companies, and let me just flag off that government is thinking this time to really strengthen housing companies to supply the better housing conditions, even if they are doing in a small number, and also to mobilize the fund from development banks and private sectors. So private sector and government are working together so that the competition and quality would happen in this sustainable housing financing. And we still need a multi-level housing programs to develop and implement national and sub-national strategies for this, to have this inclusive, resilient, and affordable housing, in which we are also thinking with the research that to establish a kind of vernacular methods and techniques to use in housing condition, because that was more resilient than some of the modern things. So we are also having a research and development on that. But the critical thing is still our retrofitting and sustainability. So we have to upgrade our existing buildings to improve earthquake resilience and to reduce the carbon footprint through sustainable housing solutions. And this retrofitting of housing seems to be of very important, as it really makes the housing morphology and housing typologies retained with their identity, and the people think of their own culture, one kind of thing. And this is not a problem, but a kind of campaign is still in need. So regarding land, and we still need stronger urban land development nexus, and I mean, which is to really use land use planning techniques with urban development for inclusive and risk informed growth, because this land use becomes just a tool, but the tool not to be implemented in condition. So we have to think of that. It's a various problem. And so the third one, I mean, the next one is enhanced local implementation. We really try to strengthen intersectoral coordination and to provide technical support to local governments and effective implementation. uh, in, with together with this, we have to improve this access to basic service. That's there is no second option of it, to enhance the quality and reliability and accessibility to water services, and to expand the water and sanitation. I hope to contribute. I mean, Ministry of Urban Development is working with National Urban Policy and National Housing Policy to really coordinate with all the governments, and federal government with all the ministries, and UN Habitat and all kind of governments as well. And the Japanese government, the JICA, is also helping in our retrofitting and implementing the building codes in municipalities. With these policies and act, I hope to contribute in housing and supply, and also to quality improvement with a pace what demands really, I mean, what demands extends. And we also are available to work with international communities and UN Habitat with their the exchange of different different good cases and good practices, so that these informal settlements become formal, and then we can have a better policy implemented at local level, so that the this year we are actually making up a national budget this time, and housing is one of the major area to really contribute on, and we are targeting to hope to strengthen National Housing Company Limited to really supply around 2000 around 100,000 houses in 2 years, so that the private sector and government can go together. And also our ministry is trying to have the septic tank campaign, so that resiliency and all kind of improvements can be seen in within a year itself. With this, let me thank you all, and I will be available to further discussion. Thank you.